everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make two versions of the same style of necklace because I am making one with beading chain, and beading chain requires a lot of components that a lot of people do not have on hand in order to end the chain. I do have all the supplies that you need for this online on my website. However, a lot of people want to be able to use what they have on hand. So I have made two versions, one with regular chain, one with beading chain, so that you can do either way and you won't be left out. This is using the Enchanted Jewels Treasure Bag. However, this technique works with anything you have on hand, so do not feel left out. You can use any focal beads, any chain you have on hand. If you want some beading chain, you can go to ggctreasures.com and get some, or you can just use what you have on hand. And so this is the first version we're going to make. This is with regular chain, and this is the second version we're going to make, and this is with beading chain. We're going to make the earrings and the necklace, and I'm going to show you the full thing here. So you can see it's just a nice little focal on a chain and a nice little toggle here. And a set of earrings, of course, and these are nice dangles. And then we have this set. These are really pretty dangles. And this is what the end of the necklace looks like on this one. I have used some crimp tubes with an extender and clasping end, and that's what that turns out like. So this is a little bit fancier, this is a little bit more casual. However, this doesn't have to be casual, it depends upon the chain you're using, and since I'm using an antiqued copper, it looks a little more casual. You can use any chain you would like that's nice and shiny and get the same type of result over here as far as the looks go. So let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this particular set. Okay, for the first version of this necklace, we are going to be using some regular chain. Now I'm using the chain that came in the Enchanted Jewels Treasure Bag. You can use any chain you'd like. I have cut two pieces about 8 inches long, making sure that they are exactly the same amount of links. So I've just held them up on a eye pin or whatever you have, and just make sure that they are exactly the same amount of links, and they are around 8 inches long, unless of course you want to make a longer or shorter necklace. Mine are 8 inches long, which in the amount of chain would be 16 inches, but we're going to add a center focal, and that's going to add some length, and we're going to add some clasping. So I'm hoping to end up with about a 17.5 inch, maybe 18-inch necklace in the end, so that it will lie high up on my throat, right at the base of my throat. That's the best place for me to wear this type of necklace. You will need to judge the amount of chain that you want to use for the length that you want. So 2 pieces 8 inches long, then 2 pieces 9 links long. If you are not using the same chain I am, that's about 1 inch. This also will depend on how long you want your earring to dangle. This portion of it, when we put on our beaded component, is going to bring some more length to it, so it's going to be about 2 inches long with the ear wire and the focal here. You're going to have about a 2.5 inch dangle. So you can judge how much chain you want. I have 2 pieces 9 links long. Then I'm using the 14mm round, like disco ball type of beads that were in our treasure bag. There's 3 of them. You can use any large focal bead you would like. Again, like I said, you just adjust the length of your chain to accommodate how big of the bead and what shape it is for your focal. Then I'm going to use some of these little 3mm round rose gold colored beads that were in the treasure bag. If they're stuck together, some of these are stuck together, I've noticed, you just take your cutters and just gently touch between them and they will come right apart. Your little flush cutters. So I'm going to use a few of those, and then I am going to use the toggle clasp. I'm going to use 2 head pins and 1 eye pin and 2 ear wires and 2 4mm round jump rings. So to get started with this, we're going to make a component out of one of the 14mm round beads with the eye pin. Just make sure your eye pin is long enough to accommodate a few beads and make a loop. So I'm going to bring it in here, and we are going to pick up onto our eye pin one of the 3mm round beads. You could use a 4mm round, you can use whatever you want there, a little crystal, doesn't matter. You can even use a bead cap if you would like on there. Then we're going to put one on the other end, and this is what we have so far. We are then going to hold this, and I like to balance it on my middle finger here and push down on the bead with my thumb so that it doesn't slide on my wire and I don't get any excess slack between the bead and my loop. Then I'm going to grab my flat nose pliers, and I'm going to go right above this little 4mm or 3mm round bead, and I'm going to bend an angle in the wire just like this, and then I'm just going to kind of lay it over my finger and I'm going to cut it down to about 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm just going to place them right onto the very end of that wire so that it's flush with my cutters and not too far down. You want to judge the area you're going to put in that will make a loop that matches the other side. And you'll just have to figure that out. On my pliers, it's right about here. I'm going to start turning as far as I can turn, and then I'm going to take my plier out. I'm going to place it back in and continue. So what I've done is I took the plier out, turned it over, and put it back in and continued rolling until I made a complete loop. Let me get you in a little closer. And I have done this on several videos, so you can always reference another if you feel as if you didn't get that. And then I'm going to take 2 pairs of pliers, and I'm just going to make sure that my loops are at the same angle. So one isn't vertical and one flat like that. I want them to be at the same angle. And that is my center focal bead. Then I'm going to grab my chain, and I am going to just open my chain and put it right onto these loops. You can use a jump ring if you would like. Let me see if I can find a couple of decent pliers here. I've got a million out and I don't like any of them. I don't want that one. Okay, so I use these 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my chain and I'm going to find where the link opens. And I'm going to place a plier on either side of that link. So like this. And then I'm just going to grab another plier and twist that open, just like that. I'm going to drop it onto this loop here on my component, and then I'm going to close it. Make sure it's closed tightly. And then, let's back off a little now. We will do the same thing with the other side. Grab your chain, find where it opens, twist it open, put it on the component on the other side, and then close it. And I have a very simple necklace. All I have to do now is put the ending on, which I will do. Now if you want to, you could do segments and put other components in between too. Make the components exactly the same way, make a few short segments of chain, attach them, and then you can have several focal beads. You can even have one that's a little bit bigger, 2 that are a little smaller. Just make sure that your segments are even all the way around, and connect them together. And then you can have a little bit fancier necklace. I'm doing a very minimalist type of necklace here. Now I'm going to take my two 4mm round jump rings, and I'm going to put a plier on either side of the opening, twist it open, grab the end of my chain, and drop the chain onto the jump ring, and then I'm going to drop my clasp end onto the chain, or onto the jump ring, excuse me, and close that jump ring nice and tightly. And I have clasping on one end, and then do the same thing on the other end. Come here, chain. And then I'm just going to drop the other end of my clasp on. And I now have a very simple necklace. And if this is too long, let me actually back off so you can see the thing. If this is too long, because you want this little ball to hang right at the base of your throat, if it's too long, then of course just adjust your chain down and put your clasping back on. This ended up to be, after all of my doings, 17, no, it's right at 18 inches long. So this will hang a little bit lower than the base of my throat on my neck. And I can always go a little bit shorter, because 17 is about right for it to hang at the base of my throat. However, 16 is too tight. So you can adjust the length of the chain so it hangs right where you want it to, and that's that version of the necklace. Now we're going to make some earrings to go with this particular version, and I am going to grab my ear wires, I'm going to grab my 2 segments of 9 links, I'm going to grab my head pin, or my head pin. Head pins and eye pins, they're just getting to me. I never can call them right. So I've got a head pin, and then I am going to pick up onto my head pin. I had made one, I want to look at it. There we go. I'm going to pick up onto my head pin my bead. Yeah, this one. And then I am going to pick up one of these little round beads here. You can put one on the bottom of it too if you'd like, but I think this looks pretty good like this. And then I'm going to just basically do the same thing, except for this time I only need to make a loop on top here. Just bend it over like this, just the same way we did before. And then I am going to cut it down to about 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to take my pliers, I'm going to place them at the very end of that wire, making sure they're flush with the back of that wire. Actually grab onto it and start to turn, and turn as far as I can. And then I'm going to take my plier out, I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to put it back in, and you want to grip close to the end here when you do that, close to the end of the wire, and continue to turn so that you can turn that wire in very nicely. Now you can see mine is a little bent and a little not quite perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my straight nose pliers, I'm going to flatten that out and close this nicely, adjust it a little bit, and now I have a nice component. Then I am going to grab a piece of chain, and again I'm going to find the opening in my chain and get you in close again. Just find the end and find the opening, place 2 pairs of pliers on either side of that opening, twist it open, drop it onto the loop on the component you just created, and then close that loop, or close the link of the chain, excuse me. And now all I have to do is grab one of my ear wires and I am going to, on this one, it's a little bit different ear wire. These are the only ones I have that match this color of chain. So on mine, I have to slide it down and then into the little loop divot thing here, and then close this divot. All you have to do is open the loop on your ear wire and drop the chain on, or open the chain and put it on the loop, either way, just like this. And I will be doing that with my next example. I'll show you with a regular ear wire. It's very simple, and most of you know how to do that already, so it's not a hard thing. And then we're going to make another one, and I think this one is actually a length shorter. This is the one that I made previous, but that's what the set will look like, and I will change the chain out so it matches better. And then here is the necklace, and it's just a really cute little simple minimalist focal bead type of necklace, little spinner type necklace, and just really cute. And of course, like I said, mine is very plain. You could dress it up a lot more than this. That is one version of this necklace. Now, let me gather things together and I will show you the beading chain version of this necklace. Okay, for the next version of this necklace, we're going to step it up a notch. The last version is very casual. Of course, you could use a fancier chain than I did, something that's a little shinier, a little daintier, and you can make it comparable to the same look you're going to get from this one. But the way I made it was very casual. Now I'm going to make this a little dressier. So I'm using some 0.06 beading chain, and this is rose gold color. And I have cut 17 inches of it. You can cut 16, and because I am also going to use an extender, so you can cut 16 and make sure that it's going to go right at the base and put an extender on it, or you can cut 18 and then you'll end up with a little bit longer, like 19 inch if you're a little bit bigger person, because you want this to lay at the very base of your throat. So what I have cut is 17 inches. I'll probably end up with about an 18-inch necklace. I could use a little shorter, but that's what I'm going to go with. Then I have cut 2 pieces of about 1.5 inches of beading chain, exactly the same length for my earrings. And then I have 2 ear wires. These were antique copper tone, and they don't really match well, and I didn't really have anything in rose gold, so I put them in silver cleaner and took the patina off. However, you can still see a little bit of it, but you know, you make do. You use what you've got. So 2 ear wires, and then you're going to need, of course, 3 of your 14mm round beads, and then we're going to need some specific things that work with beading chain. So you can watch my Beading Chain 101 to see some other methods on how to end your chain, but what I'm going to show you is with the earrings, I'm going to use these little crimp tubes. Now, they're just a 1mm crimp tube opening with a loop at the end. And these are rose gold colored sterling silver is what they are. And I have them on my website if you want some. We're going to use those for the earrings, but you can also use these for the end of the necklace. So you don't have to have the 2 different types that I'm going to show you. You would just put a jump ring on and you're clasping on the end of these also. So you could get one package for your earrings and for your necklace. Or you can get this type of ending, which is what I'm going to use on my necklace just because it's easier. It's got the crimp tube and it's got a lobster claw on one end and a jump ring and an extender on the other end. So I have my clasping done after I have crimped. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use 2 of these. This is why I showed you the other method. So if you do not have these things, you cannot get a hold of them, then you can use the other method because most everybody has those on hand. And like I said, you can change the looks with the chain that you use. Now, what we're going to do, we're also going to use 4 of the little spacer beads, the 3mm round rose gold spacer beads. You can use anything you want, a little piece of crystal, seed bead, whatever you would like to be your little spacer beads. And then we're going to use some size 1 Beadalon round crimp tubes. And you want, for the method I'm doing, for them to be size 1 round. If you're going to use a size 2 tube, you need to watch Beading Chain 101 and learn how to use that. So now what we're going to do is we are going to make the necklace first. So let's grab our longer piece of chain here, my 17-inch piece of chain, and I'm just going to drop my bead onto it. And then I'm going to bring it to the center of my chain. Let me back off a little bit. I'm going to bring it to the center, bring the ends together like this, and then I'm going to grab one of my spacer beads on either end, and I'm just going to pop them on this chain. Now, you can stiffen the ends of this chain with some super glue if you'd like, but we're doing so few beads, and the openings are on these particular beads are big enough to where I don't really need to do that. So I'm just going to drop a bead on either side of my big bead onto my chain. Just, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm getting over a cold, or I'm still in the middle of it, but I really apologize. Now we're going to bring both of those beads down here and make sure that the ends here are together. I'm going to turn it this way just so you can see a little bit better the next step. We're going to need 2 of our little size 1 crimp tubes, and I want you to go ahead and center the 2 ends of your beading chain up towards the top here where you can't see me, but just put them together and make sure everything is centered. And then what you're going to do once you have it centered is you're going to place your finger over the chain so it doesn't move the centering, and you are going to bring one end of your chain down like this. Then we can get in a little closer and I can show you what I'm going to do. When I'm working with the end of the chain, I'll just hold this part so that it doesn't move, and I'll just pick up one of these little crimp tubes onto my chain and bring it down very gently without moving my center bead. Then I can just kind of push it all together, hold my chain, and I will grab a pair of flat nose pliers. Let's see if I can find a pair I like here. And I'm going to draw this little crimp tube down and move the little spacer bead as I do that towards the 14 millimeter bead. And you can see I have the 14 millimeter bead stable with my finger, and I'm just going to squeeze just like this. Now I haven't moved my center much, and excuse me, let me get a drink. And I have dropped my crimp tube down and stabilized one side. Now I can put my finger there again and bring this side over, and then I'm just going to grab another crimp tube and slide it onto my beading chain. And I'm going to bring this down to the bead. Again, I'm going to hold my chain steady, and I'm just going to gently push the center beads together, not real tight, just enough to where they're close together, and I'm going to secure that bead. Now, excuse me, I am so sorry, guys. You can see that I didn't quite get my center bead close enough, and I'm going to leave this in so I can show you how to correct that. If you don't get that correct, you can grab another pair of pliers, and then on the sides of the crimp bead, you can just squeeze and open it back up. Now I can move it, because you see I've just unflattened it, and now I can move it over. Since this side is stable, I can hold on to this, and I can grab my flat nose pliers again. And like I said, I don't want it really tight. I want a little bit of movement there, but I don't want it really far away, and I can squeeze it again. Now I have everything stable. And I've corrected the issue that happened when I did that. You can conceivably, after you do one side, you can pick up the other and do it without much issue because you've got it centered against one side. So you can do that too, instead of trying to lay it down like I did. Now I've got the focal of my necklace, and I am going to back off here, and I am going to grab my crimp ends here, and I'm going to show you how to put this on the end of your necklace. And here's my little crimp tube, and I'm going to pick it up in my crimping tool. I'm just going to grab it, and I've got the flat side of my tool facing the end of the bead here, or of the crimp tube. And then I'm just going to move it into this first divot, the one closest to the handle. You can see it has a little oval side, and then it has a little crinkly side. That's where you want to place that crimp tube. Then you're going to grab the end of your beading chain, and you're just going to slide it in until you feel it hit the bottom of the crimp tube, and then you're going to squeeze. And now you have something that looks like this. Then you're going to, you have a little fold in the middle and two tubes on the side. You're going to place those little tubes into the first divot on the crimping tool, the one closest to the tip, and it's just basically an oval on both sides. You're going to place it in and turn it over so you can see what it looks like. And then you want to make sure that you're at the very end of the crimp tube, and then squeeze again. And so now you have crimped the bottom of that tube, and you have a really nice ending on your chain, just like that. And it's very secure, and it's very professional looking. And I also have my extender already on here. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So I'm basically just going to pick it up, making sure that I have the flat part of my crimp tool towards the bottom of the crimp tube. Then I'm going to move it into the first divot, the one closest to the handle, or I guess that's the second divot, however you look at it. I'm going to put it in there, make sure that it's flush so that I'm just at the very end of the crimp tube. Then I'm going to grab my beading chain. I'm going to put it inside that tube, and I'm going to squeeze. And again, I have a little fold like this. Now I'm going to place this crimp tube sideways in the first divot so that the little tubes are touching my crimp tool. Let me put it on this way. And make sure you're at the very bottom of the crimp tube so you can see. It's like this. I'm going to bring that up just a little bit more so it's flush. And then I'm going to squeeze. And that's the end of the necklace. Now we are going to go ahead and make an earring. So let me show you what this looks like actually. That would probably be nice of me. I'm just going to kind of lay it out like this. I'll do a pretty layout so you can see later. But you can see it's got a nice ending, and it's a very pretty necklace. And this will lay just right at the base of your throat and just look really cute, minimalist, but something there that will definitely catch the eye. Now we have our two shorter pieces of beading chain, and we're going to pick up one of our, let's see, how do I want to do this? I want to do this first by putting on a size 1 crimp tube on the very end of this beading chain. So I'm just going to scoop up a little size 1 onto the beading chain, like this. And then I'm going to grab my crimp, actually I'm going to grab my flat nose pliers, and I'm going to grab a hold of that little crimp tube. It's easier if you hold on to the crimp tube first, and then you put your wire in and just leave a tiny bit of wire coming out the end. for security, and then squeeze that little crimp bead like that. Let me back off some. Now we're going to pick up one of our beads and we're going to put it on, and that little stop will stop your bead, and if it falls through, let's see, no, it's working. But if you have a bigger hold bead, you can always drop a seed bead or one of these little spacer beads down on the bottom. And I think I might actually do that. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab one of these and put it on first. And then I am going to put my bead on. Just to make it, just to make sure. So that's what that looks like now. And then I'm going to grab another one of my little size 1 crimp tube beads, whatever, and I am going to bring it down to the bead, and I may actually go ahead, I think I'll go ahead and drop another one of these beads down just to make sure that that bigger bead won't slide up over my crimp tube. So this is what I have now. And then I'm going to grab a hold of my little crimp tube, and I am going to place it on the beading chain. Just like that. Then I'm going to grab a hold of that little bead and push it down towards the other beads on the chain to make sure that they're close to each other. Don't push it so tight that you're strangling it, just enough to where there's no slack, and then squeeze. And now you have a bead just like this. You have your earring set up. Now we have to do the top so that we can attach it to an ear wire. So we're going to put one of these little crimp tubes with the loop on the top, and then we can just drop it on the ear wire because the loop is there and ready for us. So again, pick up your crimping tool and place these are a little bit harder to move and handle, so just place it into that second divot there. And it takes a little bit because, like I said, they're tiny. They're a little bit harder to handle. So it usually takes me a time or two to do this. I just pick it up in the first divot and then I move it into the second divot. Make sure that it's flush with the tool. And then I'm going to turn my hand a little bit here. I'm going to take my beading chain and put it in. And some of these are not closed on the end, so generally you just slide it in until you feel the chain touch the end of it, but some of them go through, so you might have to back it off if it goes through. This one's not going through. I'm just touching the end of the crimp tube and I'm going to squeeze. Now I have the same effect I had on the other crimp tubes, see? And now I can place it sideways in the first divot just like I did before and squeeze again. And now I have a nice little loop on the end of my beading chain here, and I can take my ear wire and I can open it and drop this on here. So I'm just opening the loop like you do a jump ring, and then I'm just going to close it. Just like that. And now I have a really pretty earring. And I'll make the other one off camera, and I'll be back and I'll show you both sets that we have made, and then we will call it good. And I apologize for all the coughing and gross stuff that happens when you have a cold. I totally hope that you put up with it because it's really yucky. Anyway, be back in a minute. Okay, so I finished my last earring, and now I want to show you how you can get two very different looking necklaces with the same style of necklace, the same technique, just using different types of chain. And like I said, this one's very casual, but you can still do this style and dress it up more by using a brighter, shinier chain, a daintier chain. You can use some that are like diamond cut little links that are very shiny, or a bright silver or something like that, and that would dress it up a little bit more. This is very casual looking with the patina of the antique copper tone. So like I said, you can do this very casually, or you can do this a little fancier, and you can get a lot of different looks. You can use any beads you would like for your focal and accomplish the same exact type of style with all kinds of different types of beads. So even in my treasure bag, I have some cylindrical beads. I thought I had some right here. And this would work with these beads too. You just make your component and hook it to the chain the same way. That would be really pretty too. And so we have 4 of these, 2 in purple and 2 in a kind of an orangey color. And you could make 4 necklaces with that, or you could make, 4, because there's only 2 of each color, so you couldn't make a set of earrings, but you could make something that matched with some of the beads that are similar, like with the orange ones, and you could make a little dangle to go with it. And you have some purple, so you could do that also. And you can use this style for your cylindrical beads too. I'm still working on a plan for those. I haven't quite got it figured out yet, but I will. Anyway, this is what we've made today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you for putting up with my cold, and I will see you in the next one. If you liked this one, please hit that like button and subscribe and push the notification bell. All that stuff is really helpful to my channel, and I appreciate it a lot. So thanks. Bye-bye.